In today's city update, we are going to be building the transition from the beach to the next piece of the hill section. We are going to be building 5 new buildings. But initially, all I knew was I wanted to build some stairs, but I was feeling a little uninspired. So I went to Canva, I used their AI image generator, and I asked it to generate images of stairs in a coastal Italian town. Now, I liked the second option because it had angled stairs, which I thought would be more interesting. It had a tan building, a sand red building. But I needed a little bit more inspiration, so then I went to ChatGPT and I asked it to give me 15 characteristics of Italian architecture. So then I got to work in the city. So first I started by laying out the stairs, and then I laid out some basic dimensions of the buildings. Next, you can see I built this small archway, added some detailings, and that way I could extend the walkway and the railing above so that it would connect into the stairs. Then I added some masonry bricks on those stairs and then added some cobblestones along the front. Now, at this point, I did some work off camera so you can see the basic skeleton of the build. You can see the curved staircase, a little archway, as well as the 5 building areas. So let's start with the first one next to the stairs. So this tan building features a bright yellow and white awning, a brown wooden door with the gold lightsaber as the door knocker, as well as a decorative grille around the window using those black crowbars. And then you can see some ivy, and I've also used hinge plates to help wrap the building to the curvature of the stairs. Now looking at the second floor, you can see it has dark azure shutters, some tan coining, as well as a small balcony, and then a matching yellow awning. Now, the roof is pretty simple and low profile. One of the things I want to do later in the video is add some details to it, but for right now, I think it works. Now moving to the next 2 buildings, I first built this small tan section with the little gutter detail. Then I started on the sand red building and I opted for some simple white trim. I did add some detailing around the door with the use of cattails. And then as you wrap around the corner, you can see some dark green plants as well as a small exterior light using a broom piece. The other side of the tan building is fairly straightforward with the gray arch and the green ivy crawling up, but the alley-facing window has a nice rounded awning with the potted plant. However, I do have a few details that I need to go back and add later in the video. The second floor of the sand red building is somewhat similar to the first with the same trim style. This time I've added a window with a small awning, some simple dark green shutters with a dark brown window, and then of course some flowers to finish it off. The third floor features the same shutter style, but has a small balcony that I built using modified plates and droid arms, as well as a bar and a swirl. And then I've also added a dark green awning. So I really like how the third floor turned out, but I will say now looking at the roof, this is probably my least favorite part of the build, just because it doesn't feel like it totally fits the build. So eventually I'll go back and change it, but I think for now it works. So now switching back to the tan building, the second floor features some tan coining on the edges as well as some reddish brown shutters. The third floor is pretty much the same, except it does have a small balcony where I've used the top of a treasure chest for the window box, and I think I'm going to keep it, but let me know what you guys think. It does feel a little off to me. And the roof is pretty simple. It just uses a variety of dark orange and medium nougat plates and tiles just to give it a little bit more of a textured look. So here's the current lineup of the mock. We still have 2 buildings to go as well as a handful of details to add. So next we're going to focus on the dark orange building that will sit right here. So on the ground floor, I use these rounded tiles for an awning effect. I also use these black arrows as a little bit of a decorative grille around the window, but my favorite detail are these new dark orange scroll bricks, as well as the double-sided slopes that I use with the snot bricks. Now, moving to the second floor, you can see it has a lot of dark orange and medium nougat detailing, as well as this really cool balcony using black flex tube and then some black skeleton arms. I also used the white 3x3 curved tiles to create a nice white arch on both sides. And then to break things up, I added a small gray detailing strip using the 1x2 rounded tiles, as well as some snot bricks. The roof I had to build off camera because it was a little challenging with the angles and it was a little fragile. You can see I'm using ivy to cover up sort of that ugly transition part, but I will go back later in the video and actually finish out the ivy so it covers up more of this gap and just adds a much nicer look and feel. Next up is the warm tan building. Unfortunately, all the snot bricks I have on hand right now are this bright neon color, but I really like the colors of this build. I love the sand blue and the white outline with the warm blue. I really also like how the second floor turned out, my favorite part being this balcony using the droid arms and the lightsaber hilts. And then another low profile terracotta roof, but I'm really happy with this one because I added the fur collar and the bird for the bird's nest just to give it a little bit of extra detail. So next we are going to fine tune some of the details in the build. The first step is to finish the tiling around the tan building and then add this little potted plant and the window box underneath. Next is the ivy, and then swapping out some of the potted plants throughout the tan building. And now we're going to remove some of the buildings so we can finish out some of the details up top. So first I've added this staircase, which will carry into the next segment of the hill section. And you can see the detail on the railing is kind of cool. I used lightsaber hilts, some pin pieces, as well as a black cup and then a black flame. And so I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then the little archway, I'm not sure what that'll transition into, but I'll have to come up with that for the next city update. Now we're going to reconstruct everything so we can go ahead and add a few more details. So the first I'm going to work on is the ivy on the dark orange building. You can see that I really just needed to cover up that exposed section of the roof, and I wanted to add a little bit of weight to the corner of the building. Now, because the work was kind of fragile and attaching the ivy is a little tricky, I did have to do it off camera. So here you can see the finished result. I think it looks a lot better, and it really just adds a nice pop on the building. Next, I'm going to add some potted plants on the stairs. And next is one of my favorite details of this entire build, which is this clothesline that I'm hanging between the two buildings. I think it adds a really nice level of detail to the build. Next, we're going to add some potted plants to the windowsill of the tan building. I played around with a couple different color combinations, but ultimately decided on dark green because I think it just added a nice little bit of weight to the build. Then I added a potted plant to the stairs using a nougat minifigure head. Added another potted plant to the sand red building, and then worked a little bit on the roof and added these little scroll pieces just to give a little extra detail. And then I also used some 1x2 curved slopes on the back just to round things out. So here is the before photo. You can see there's a pretty big empty gap in the city. And then here is the after, and you can see it is a huge difference. It's really nice to start to fill in some of the city and see some real elevation start to occur. Now, swinging around looking at the adjacent base plate, I have got to figure out what I'm going to do to create some elevation, but also make sure that it transitions nicely between the two builds. And I'm really not sure. I'll probably do a combination of hills and stairs. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any ideas of what I should do to transition from that dark tan platform all the way down to the ground. So with that, if you guys want to see what happens next, be sure to hit subscribe, stay on the lookout for new videos, and we'll see you next time.